The crack of a rifle split the morning air like thunder, echoing off the granite cliffs of the Colorado Territory. Another shot followed, closer this time. Evelyn Carter pressed her back against the rough bark of a pine tree, her heart thudding in her chest. At 26, she had learned the sound of danger, and this was trouble. The Timberline stretched ahead, a thin border where forest met open mountain. Above it, the alpine wind screamed through bare rocks and snow patches. Below, the thick green woods she had called home for 3 years now seemed to turn against her. Somewhere down there, 5 armed men were spreading out, their voices rough and confident. "Come on out, woman!" One shouted, "We know you're up there!" Evelyn touched the leather strap of her medicine bag, making sure it was still there. The morning had started quietly. She had been gathering yarrow near a spring, her basket half full. But now the forest was filled with danger. She recognized the type of men who were coming for her, bounty hunters. Their boots and guns told enough. She couldn't understand why they were here. She had never done harm to anyone. She had only ever healed. But the way they moved, deliberate and spread wide, told her they knew exactly who they were after. A branch cracked close by. Evelyn didn't wait. She slipped from her hiding place and moved through the trees like a shadow. Her soft boots made no sound on the needle-covered ground. She had learned this kind of movement from an old Ute woman who once took her in, teaching her how to live quietly in the wilderness, how to survive when men with rifles came calling. She glanced up the slope. The Timberline was still 100 yards away. If she could reach it, she might have a chance. The open ground above would make her an easier target, but at least she would see them coming. She started climbing. "Don't run, missy!" Another voice called, "We just want to talk." She knew that tone, half laughing, half lying. They didn't climb a mountain armed to the teeth just to talk. A shot rang out. Bark exploded beside her shoulder, spraying splinters into her hair. She didn't stop. The thin air burned her lungs, but she pushed harder. She could hear them below, boots crashing through underbrush, men calling positions to each other like trained soldiers. These weren't just bounty hunters. They moved like men who had hunted people before. At last, she broke out of the trees and into open air. The wind tore at her dress, cold and sharp. The world stretched below in miles of green and gold forest. She turned to look and froze. 5 men stood 20 yards below, rifles in hand. The leader was a broad, grizzled man with a gray beard and cruel blue eyes. Around his neck hung a string of dark, shrunken shapes that made her stomach twist. She didn't need to look closer to know they were human trophies. "That's far enough, Miss Carter," he called, raising his rifle. "Garrison wants a word." "You come quiet. Nobody gets hurt." So they knew her name. This wasn't chance. Garrison, a name she'd heard whispered in mining towns, was a man who bought and sold power the way others traded horses. "I don't know any Garrison," she said, her voice steady, though her knees shook, "and I've done nothing worth this trouble." The man laughed. "You patched up a Comanche 3 weeks back." "Garrison wants to know where he went. Seems that Savage killed some folks down by Trinidad. You helped him run." Evelyn felt cold wash through her. 3 weeks ago, she had found a wounded man half dead near Beaver Creek. She'd cleaned his wounds, set his ribs, and nursed him until he could walk. He had said little, only his name, Noah, and that was enough. He had left before dawn, leaving behind a small beaded pouch as "Thanks, I help anyone who's hurt," she said. "That's all. That ain't how Garrison sees it," the leader replied. "He pays good for your kind, sympathizers, traitors, whatever name suits." Evelyn took a slow step back, judging the distance between her and the rocks behind her. Her only weapon was a small knife meant for cutting herbs, but her grandmother's voice whispered in her memory. "When you've got nothing left to lose, girl, you still have your courage. 5 against 1. She said, "You call that bravery." The man's smile turned mean. "We call it easy work." They began to spread out, rifles ready. Evelyn's breath came fast. The wind whistled around her, carrying the smell of snow. She thought of her little cabin down the mountain, the jars of dried herbs, the quiet evenings reading by firelight. She thought of the people she had helped. The miner's wife who'd named her baby after her. The Ute elder who'd called her Angel of the Timberline. That angel was about to fall. The leader raised his rifle. "Last chance, Miss Carter." She drew her knife, small but steady in her hand. "If you want me," she said, "come and take me." The man sneered. So be it. He took one step forward, and then it came. A cry split the air, wild, sharp, and fierce. It rolled down from the ridge above like thunder. The men froze, looking up. Evelyn turned too, her heart leaping. On the rocky ridge stood a figure, tall, dark, and unmistakable. The morning sun glinted off the metal barrel of a rifle. The voice that followed was deep and commanding. "The woman is under my protection. Leave now or feed the ravens." It was Noah, the Comanche she had saved. The leader cursed, swinging his rifle toward the ridge. "Well, ain't that something?" The savage came back for his nurse. Evelyn's pulse raced. Noah moved like part of the mountain itself, already shifting behind the rocks as the first shots cracked through the air. Bullets sparked off stone. The hunters shouted orders, scrambling for cover. Before Evelyn could move, a hand grabbed her arm. The leader yanked her close, his revolver pressed against her ribs. "Looks like we caught ourselves 2 prizes instead of 1, he growled. But even as fear surged through her, Evelyn's eyes searched the ridge. Somewhere behind those rocks, Noah was alive, and he had come back for her. The hunters thought they were the predators, but the mountains had their own rules. And Evelyn Carter, healer of the high country, was about to learn that sometimes salvation came with the sound of a Comanche war cry. The man holding Evelyn was built like an ox, his beard streaked with gray, and his pale blue eyes full of cruelty. His revolver dug into her ribs as he shouted orders to his men. "Jenkins, take the high ground. Morrison, swing left through those pines. Talbot, you stay with me." His name, she learned from the others, was Harlan Briggs. Even in her panic, she noticed how the men obeyed him without question. They were too disciplined to be mere bounty hunters. These were ex-soldiers. Men trained in war and too proud to stop fighting once peace came. "Your red friend made a big mistake coming back." Briggs hissed near her ear. "Could have kept running. Could have lived. Now he'll die on this mountain, and you'll watch. You don't know him," Evelyn said through clenched teeth. "He's survived worse men than you," Briggs chuckled. "Every savage thinks he's invincible until he ain't a shot cracked through the thin air." The sound bounced from rock to rock. Jenkins, somewhere high above, fired at movement in the ridge, but the bullet struck only stone. The sharp ping of ricochet filled the valley, followed by silence. "Jenkins!" Briggs shouted. "No answer! Damn it, answer me!" The forest gave nothing back. Then, a cry. Short, muffled, cut off. Jenkins' rifle clattered down from the ridge, striking stone. The men froze. "He's here," whispered the youngest hunter, Talbot. "He's hunting us a rustle." A blur of motion in the trees. Morrison went down next, clutching his throat, blood spilling between his fingers. He fell face first into the snow, his rifle sliding away. Briggs cursed, jerking Evelyn closer, using her as a shield. "Show yourself, Comanche!" He shouted into the wind. "You want the woman breathing, you come on out!" The reply came from the rocks above. "Calm, steady, dangerous. Let her go, Briggs. Your fight is with me." Noah stood, framed against the bright sky, rifle leveled. His dark hair whipped in the wind, his stance steady as granite. Briggs's grip on Evelyn tightened. "You killed my men." "They live," Noah said for now. "That's more mercy than you showed my people." Briggs's eyes narrowed. "You remember Trinidad? 3 good men, dead, on a wagon run. One of them, my brother. Don't lie. We tracked you from there." Noah's face was stone. 2 weeks ago, I was 200 miles south. I was trying to free women and children taken by your volunteer soldiers. Your brother's killers wore uniforms. Liar! Briggs spat, shaking with fury. "Garrison's got witnesses. Says you did it yourself." "Garrison lies," Noah said simply. "He profits from blood." "Ask yourself, Why would he send you here? Why does he want me silenced?" Evelyn could see Briggs's jaw working, doubt creeping in behind his rage. He wanted to believe Garrison, but something in Noah's voice made him hesitate. "Enough!" Briggs barked finally. "Boys, take him down!" Noah moved first. The rifle cracked. The bullet hit the ground near Briggs's boots, spraying dirt and snow. The message was clear. A warning, not a kill. Before they could fire back, a stone whistled through the air, striking Talbot hard across the temple. He dropped like a sack of grain. Panic spread among the hunters. They fired blindly into the rocks, bullets whining off granite. But Noah was already gone, a ghost in the mountain. "Swift! Morrison! Answer me!" Briggs shouted again, but there was only the moan of the wind and the distant cry of a hawk. Evelyn's heart pounded. She could feel the tremor in Briggs's arm now. Fear, the kind that came when a hunter realized he had become the hunted. "This is madness," she said quietly. "Let us go, Briggs." "You're outmatched." "Shut your mouth," he snarled. "You don't know what Garrison's capable of." "Maybe not," she replied. "But I can see what fear's doing to you. You keep this up, you'll all die here." "Maybe," Briggs said, "but at least we'll die getting paid." Before he could finish, another shot rang out, this one clean and sharp. Morrison's hat exploded off his head. A warning again. "Take your wounded and leave." Noah's voice called. "You've lost enough men for one morning." Briggs's breathing came fast. Evelyn felt it against her shoulder. He wanted to retreat. She could sense it. But pride was a dangerous thing. "Talbot, you still breathing?" Briggs called. The young man groaned faintly in reply. "Get him up. We're falling back." He dragged Evelyn with him a few paces, then spun her around so she faced him. "If you see that savage again, tell him this ain't over." Quote. Before she could answer, he shoved her hard to the ground. She rolled just in time to avoid his boot as he turned and disappeared into the trees with his men. For a long moment, the world was silent, except for her ragged breathing and the whisper of the wind. Then footsteps approached. Noah appeared from the rocks, rifle still in hand. His face was calm, but his dark eyes were full of worry. "Are you hurt?" Evelyn shook her head, though her hands trembled. "Number. Not this time." "They'll come back," he said. "Briggs won't stop. He's the kind who needs revenge more than air." She stood, brushing snow from her skirt. "Then we'd better not be here when he does." He nodded. "There's a storm coming. We'll need shelter." As they began the climb higher into the mountains, Evelyn glanced at him. "Why did you come back?" He didn't look at her. "Because I owed you a debt." "That's not all." A faint smile touched his lips. "Number." "It's not." The wind rose, carrying the first flakes of snow. Behind them, the forest lay quiet except for a few crows circling above the blood-stained ground. They were alive, for now, but every step forward carried them deeper into the storm, into danger, and into something neither of them yet had words for. Snow began to fall as they climbed higher into the mountains, fat white flakes drifting down from a sky that darkened too quickly for comfort. The storm was moving fast. The air grew colder, the wind sharper. Evelyn's thin dress clung to her, soaked from sweat and melting snow. Her teeth chattered as she followed Noah along a narrow ledge, one hand gripping the cold stone for balance. "We need shelter," he said, voice nearly lost to the wind. "There!" She pointed toward a dark slit in the cliff face ahead. A cave, half hidden behind a curtain of snow. They stumbled toward it, their legs heavy with exhaustion. Inside, the air was still and cold, but it cut off the howling wind. Noah went first, checking for animals or danger, then waved her in. Evelyn collapsed beside the wall, breathing hard. Noah built a small fire from dry branches, stored in an old cache near the back of the cave. When the flame caught, the light flickered across the walls, revealing smoke stains from fires long ago. Others had found refuge here before them. As heat began to fill the space, Evelyn's body shook uncontrollably. Her lips were blue. Noah moved closer, his expression firm. "You must get out of those wet clothes." She hesitated, but her fingers were already too numb to argue. Turning her back, she struggled with the buttons, but he helped without comment, steady and respectful. Soon she was wrapped in a wool blanket from his pack, sitting near the fire, her wet things spread to dry. "You planned this?" she asked through chattering teeth. He smiled faintly. A man learns to prepare if he wants to live through mountain winters. The warmth began to return to her fingers. She studied his face in the firelight. The lean strength, the quiet watchfulness. "You shouldn't have come back," she said softly. "You were still healing. Leaving you to die would have finished me just the same," he replied. They sat in silence for a long while, listening to the storm rage outside. The wind screamed through the rocks, shaking the world. Evelyn leaned her head back, eyes closing. "How long will this last?" "Maybe a day, maybe 3, he said. "Storms here have their own mind." 3 days. She thought of her cabin, the herbs drying, her books, the few things she had carried west from Missouri. All of it might be lost now. "Everything I built down there," she murmured. "Gone." Noah turned the fire with a stick. "Things can be rebuilt. Lives cannot." His words carried a quiet truth that settled deep in her chest. After a while, she reached for her small medical kit, checking what supplies had survived. "Your wounds," she said, gesturing. "Let me see." He obeyed. The scars on his ribs were clean, but still red. She touched the edges gently, applying a bit of her salve. He winced but didn't move. "You heal fast," she said. "Comanche blood," he replied, though his smile didn't reach his eyes. The silence between them softened. Outside, the wind's anger dulled to a steady hum. The firelight painted warm colors on their faces. After a long pause, Evelyn asked, "What really happened in Trinidad?" Noah was quiet for a moment, then sighed. "There was a raid on a supply wagon. 3 men died. But not by my hand. My cousin led it, young, angry. He wanted vengeance after soldiers killed our families. I was trying to make peace, not war. Garrison twisted the truth to make me a monster. Dead Indians make fine headlines." Quote. Evelyn nodded slowly, and the bounty hunters believed it. "They believe what pays," he said bitterly. "The storm raged all night, but the fire never went out. When dawn came, the mountain was buried in white. They stepped out to a world transformed. We should move. Noah said Briggs will come again, and Garrison will send more men." Evelyn tightened her shawl. "Where do we go?" "South," he said, "to the Sangre de Cristo Range. There are valleys where soldiers don't go." They traveled for hours through the deep snow, helping each other over frozen ridges and icy ravines. The cold bit through their clothes, but they kept moving. As the sun dropped behind the peaks, they found another shelter, a shallow overhang with just enough space for 2. That night, as they huddled beside a small fire, Evelyn looked at Noah. "When this is over," she said quietly, "what will you do?" He stared into the flames. "If we survive, I'll keep fighting for peace. Not with guns, with words. Maybe that's the only fight left worth winning." "And me?" she asked. He turned to her, eyes gentle. "You'll do what you've always done. Heal what's broken." She smiled faintly, "including you." He hesitated, then nodded once, "If you wish." Quote. The air between them changed. The fire crackled softly. Outside, the snow fell in slow, silent flakes. But peace never lasted long in the west. The next day, they saw smoke rising from the valley. Campfires. Too many to count. Briggs had returned, this time with more men. They were trapped again. Noah studied the smoke, jaw tight. "They'll reach us by noon." "Then we stand," Evelyn said. "We can't keep running." He looked at her, this woman who had patched his wounds and risked her life to save him. There was fear in her eyes, but no surrender together. Then he said, Always, she answered. When the hunters came, the mountain echoed with gunfire and shouts. Snow flew like smoke. The battle was brief but fierce. Noah fought with the cunning of a ghost, striking fast and vanishing. Evelyn, crouched behind a fallen log, used her small pistol, the first time she'd ever fired one. Her shot took a man's leg, saving Noah from behind. Briggs himself charged through the snow, his face twisted with fury. "You'll die for this, both of you." Noah turned, rifle raised, but Briggs fired first. The bullet struck Noah's shoulder, spinning him back. Before Briggs could fire again, Evelyn was on her feet, her own pistol shaking in her hands. "Drop it!" she shouted. He sneered. "You don't have it in you." Her voice was calm. "You're right. I'm a healer." Then she fired. The shot hit him square in the chest. He fell backward into the snow, eyes wide with disbelief. The valley went silent. Evelyn dropped the pistol, rushing to Noah's side. His wound bled badly, but he was breathing. "You saved me again," he whispered. She pressed a cloth to his shoulder. "We saved each other." When it was done, they buried Briggs beneath a pine tree, marking the spot with stones. Then they turned south, leaving the frozen battlefield behind. By the time they reached the valleys below, spring had begun to whisper through the air. The snow melted into streams that ran clear and cold. They found a small trading post run by a kind Mexican family who gave them shelter and food. Days turned to weeks. Noah's shoulder healed. Evelyn treated villagers for fevers and wounds, her reputation spreading. For the first time in years, she felt peace. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the red cliffs, Noah joined her outside the small cabin they now called home. "Do you think they'll come again?" she asked. "Maybe," he said. "But next time, they'll find more than one ghost waiting," she smiled. "You mean us?" "I mean the story," he said softly. "The tale of the healer and the warrior who stood together at the Timberline. Let them chase that." The wind rustled the pines, carrying the faint cry of a hawk overhead. Evelyn leaned her head on his shoulder. "Whatever happens," she said, "we face it together." "Always," he answered. And as night fell over the mountains, two souls who had once been hunted now found freedom in each other's arms, bound not by fear, but by the wild, untamed hope that could only be born in the heart of the West.